Hello everyone and welcome to the Studs Up podcast. On this podcast we're going to be doing a review of the round of the Premier League that just was. I am Garfield. I'm here with my co-host. I said that right, didn't I? I think
close
I did.
enough.
It was close.
It's close.
Hey,
close as you're going to get.
Yeah, exactly. It's our first language.
You can
English,
be,
it's fine.
and I forgive you. I'm surprised you're actually here. I thought maybe I'd have found you in a pool of your own blood, so...
Not quite that.
We'll know why. We'll get to that. But,
It's going to be scary. Anyway, if you do want to find us on Facebook, you can always find us. Just type in Studs Up, or you can go to our website, studsup-football.com. Simon says, come on, get into it. I know you've been waiting for this all day. Go.
Yeah, that Tottenham-Bournemouth game.
Wow.
How's that for a letdown? Just like a double slam.
Go on, put the knife in.
4-0, 4-0, 4-0. Honestly, I'm really... I don't like Chelsea. I don't like them at all. But boy, am I glad you got spanked by someone. It had to happen.
I've got to say, I'm not glad that we got spanked by
I wish
someone.
It was the previous week. But
yeah, of course you do.
It's almost like you left the bus at Anfield.
Yeah, we just left it there.
You left
unattended.
The bus there.
Yeah.
Just unattended. The driver got sacked and he said, stuff this, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And
don't get me wrong, we tried to park a bus, but there was no bus to be found.
I almost don't know where to start with you. I've got a list of notes here, and I can't go through them all because we don't have an hour and a half just to spend on this match. It's a litany of disasters.
Of anything that could go wrong did go wrong.
We had a conversation, a pretty firm one last week about what I thought and what you thought and what we thought was going to happen from here.
Yeah.
And I made a pretty bold claim that we were kind of seeing what Mourinho's going to be about, and we're going to see a different United moving forwards.
Yeah.
They laid a marker in the ground against Liverpool,
Yeah.
and that they would probably move on from this point, onward and upward. It just took a really early goal to just destroy that confidence.
Rip everything apart.
And it made your defenders look as though this was the first time they'd ever laced on boots, let alone played as defenders.
It made a Louis van Gaal team look resilient.
It did, yeah.
That
really did.
That was what really irked me. This is supposed to be Mourinho's dream job, and this is always the problem with Mourinho.
Well, just on that, you made a point there. It's something that I wanted to touch on. Louis van Gaal, after 9 games last season, was on 19 points.
Yep.
Jose Mourinho, after 9 this season, is 14 points.
Bit of a different league, granted.
Doesn't matter. I'm just pointing it out there.
Yeah.
It's for part of our conversation.
Yeah, I know.
You made a Louis van Gaal reference.
I did.
And I think that's it's not one to ignore.
No, it's a startlingly bad statistic for a Mourinho.
Because it's not close.
Well, this, again, I was about to touch on this. One of the reservations about hiring Mourinho as the Manchester United manager, I think United fans to a point will accept you parking the bus if the results come. I think there's enough of the fan base there that'll let it slide.
Who wouldn't?
If you get done 4-0...
Arsenal fans have got to walk it in.
Yeah, well, you got to walk it in if you're Arsenal. If you're being done 4-0... when you're trying to do that and you're playing reactionary football and your whole mantra as a manager is defend and counter and you can't do it just because you go 1-0 down after 30 seconds, you've lost your mojo a little bit.
Let me
There's
just say
real
something
problems
as well.
there.
If you look at the stats for the match, this is one of those matches where stats lie.
Yeah.
Stats had the teams pretty close.
Yeah.
They had pretty similar amount of shots on target.
By the way,
shots in
I
general.
absolutely loved Mourinho's comment of, if you look at the stats, Courtois saved more goals than David De Gea did. He conceded 4.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
It's a good thing you brought that up too. He made a couple of comments that really had me scratching my head. Do I have it with me? No, I don't. He said something along the lines of that... that you essentially weren't that bad. That
they played quite well.
They played quite well, and really it was just a matter of a couple of unlucky things.
A couple of little mistakes.
Yeah, little mistakes. And I could only shake my head and say, okay, I get that he did this at Chelsea once upon a time as well. He just kind of tried to take the heat off the players,
the heat off a bit,
etc. But that was as bad as the comments made that we made so much fun of with Guardiola and Bravo's first match.
It wasn't good.
Yeah,
and that performance was dreadful. I mean, we've seen now as well, one of the things that really just winds me up about Mourinho is he's somehow isolated Luke Shaw, one of his best players, and he brought Rojo off the bench, who's possibly the worst United player I've seen in about a decade. He's terrible. Yeah. So he's got rid of Luke Shaw. He plays Fellaini. What's he doing? Like, I don't understand.
I sort of get the Fellaini move in this
I
particular
kind of get
match.
it. I get it. Like, I know that he likes physicality, and you know what? He played very well at Anfield. He did, to be fair to him. Yep. It's not working.
Ander Herrera played in a team that was pretty much awful.
Our best player again.
Top to bottom.
Yeah.
He was not bad.
Yeah, he was our best again.
I also don't think Rashford had an awful game.
No, he was fine.
He was starved a lot, and he found him. He was sitting at left back for the quarters
I know.
of the
He
match.
had to, just mark on the left back. It was, but again, we played Daley Blind, who is a very good player, but no pace. Yeah. That's why you use Luke Shaw.
That's right. No, he had
didn't make any sense
to me. He
to
found out that Chelsea team had more pace than I. Maybe not. Didn't. Maybe I expected it to some extent with the players.
Their engine room's great though. Now that they've worked out how to make that motor tick in the middle of the park, they look formidable.
But what I kept thinking to myself, and maybe it was some naivety, but at 1-0 down, I just kept looking at him saying, "Yeah, but David Luiz is in the center of defense, and Cahill is there as well.
Yeah.
They've got Rashford, and you've got Ibra. It really wouldn't have taken much to get that goal back, and I think that would have settled the match. And I just kept thinking." The next play, United could have drawn level if Ibra had just put it on target. Yeah. That's a header I would expect him to put away.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's off form at the moment too, which is really bad for us.
Way off form. I think that normally you would expect him to bury that. And he kind of tried to do too much, and I think the stress showed on him there. He tried to go back across the keeper, which was the wrong move.
Yeah.
Courtois was there for that. Even if it hit the target, I think Courtois might have got it. If he just kind of leant to his left and just went for the far post, which is the one he was closest to, that would have been goal time. There's no way.
I think we said it before on the podcast, but I'm finding Ibra is struggling a little bit with the pace of the Premier League. He seems to always be just slightly rushed by everything. You've noticed it now in a lot of games. When he played in Paris, obviously, against in the French league, he had all the time in the world. But in England, where it's more physical, the game's a lot faster, he just seems to snap at his shots a bit more.
Well,
he's always a bit more rushed.
I'm going to just grow on that point a little bit
Yeah.
and say to you, I feel a little bit as though Ibra will adapt to the pace, but I think he needs a second striker alongside him, an out-and-out, not this three people at the front, in order to get him adapted to the pace, because for the times where he feels he's not quite in the right position, if he's got another man right there to lay off to, like a proper number 9, he might be able to play himself back into form.
I don't mind them playing 4-3-3 as long as like one of those two wingers narrows while the other one stays wide, and then vice versa. But
Rashford couldn't. That's why
couldn't
he got
in that
isolated.
game. Yeah, well, he was at left back the whole freaking game.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you play, say, Martial and Rashford, you can have one on the wing and then you can bring the other in close to Ibra running through the lines. That would work. How it's set up at the moment is not quite working. I mean, that team, what are you going to do with Pogba at the moment? There's a lot of trouble. There's a lot of issues there. He's got the 7th worst pass completion rate in the league.
It's bad.
That is stunningly bad for the most expensive player in the world. And I'm not even saying he's playing badly necessarily. He did against Chelsea. He was terrible, that was also his 3rd game in 6 days?
Yeah.
That's going to happen. Like, you're going to wear the players down if you keep doing that.
Can I just say something though? I'm relishing in this loss, by the way.
I can tell.
I couldn't cheer the Chelsea goals necessarily when I watched the game because, F Chelsea. I just don't like them. I'm sorry. I still, when that David Luiz challenge went in, I can't help but feel that could have changed the game because that was a red card.
Yeah, I think you're right. That was a hefty challenge from David Luiz, and it deserved a red. There's no other way around it.
Clumsy or otherwise. I'm not necessarily saying he was there to break, Fellaini's kneecap, even though someone should. Known bastard, remember?
Yeah.
I think he's definitely a graduate from the with honours from the John Terry Academy of Bastards.
Yeah. So, one of the star pupils, in fact.
Star pupils, yeah.
Now joined by Musa Sissoko, but we will get to that later.
Get to that. Yeah. This is a growing school, isn't it? There's alumni everywhere.
I know. He's spreading his seed.
Well, we know that too.
Yeah, yes.
If you've got a wife, keep her away from Terry. That's so true.
Yeah. Anyway, no, that David Luiz, that definitely should have been a sending
But
off.
that changes the game, doesn't it?
It does. It does change the game. And I know there's a lot of people out there that have been saying, yeah, but look at what happened with Herrera against Stoke when he challenged Joe Allen. That was a clear red. And maybe it was.
It's not how football works,
No,
mate.
it's not how it works. I get there's no serendipity of, hey, you got away with one, so now we get away with one. It doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that.
You know what? It's game by game. What I see.
Yep.
we got a bad call one game, a good game, and good call in another, whatever. United, this is a team that I don't want to ever give any props to ever. Be quite happy to see you relegated into all oblivion. Do
Thanks.
a Portsmouth for all I care.
Wow.
But the reality is, a call is a call. As a fan of football, that was
a bad call.
That was just an awful call.
Yeah. Having said that, we should actually give Chelsea some credit because, they played well.
Pedro.
Hazard was amazing.
Pedro was great.
Yeah, he was great.
For a big part player.
It was his best game at Chelsea.
Because that goal was all him, and as much as Smalling he had an appalling game.
He was terrible.
In fact,
how he turned his back on Cahill's goal. What was he doing?
I don't know.
That's an international level defense. That's a future England captain who
not anymore.
No, not anymore. Who got swiveled and just went, "Where's the ball? I don't know." That was Sunday Park League stuff.
Yeah, it was really. And I got to say, David De Gea had a pretty inauspicious game there. He's a tremendous keeper against Liverpool. He pulled out all the stops.
Yeah,
and it seems as though he left them there.
With the bus.
With the bus. Honestly, he might have been the driver. I don't know, because how else do you explain the fact that he just didn't turn up? He made a bad. I sort of get that he saw early that Smalling didn't pick up Pedro's run.
Yeah.
So he made a run, but he shouldn't have.
No.
Because he then actually made it impossible for himself. He actually, by the time he got to them, he was outside his box.
I know.
I don't know what he thought he was going to do there.
No, it wasn't his best.
He limited
decision.
his own options, and I know Pedro's quick, so he was trying to... I know what he was thinking, but he should have known better than that. He should have stuck in his goal, made himself big.
Yeah.
And
which is what he does
Pedro's
best.
not the best finisher of all time, doesn't have the greatest power in his shot, so he might have stopped it.
He can place well, but that's about it. I mean, and De Gea is one of the best at making himself big everywhere.
And one of the best
if he goes
shot
high,
stoppers there are.
he's going to stop. If he goes low, he's got his feet.
So I think he also... It was a culmination of many things. The game plan was thrown right out. It was out the window from that goal, and United never recovered. Chelsea made them pay.
And that is not a Mourinho way to play either. No. You don't just throw the game plan out as soon as something goes wrong. It's very un-Mourinho. I was not impressed.
The team was trying. It just didn't feel like they were getting it together. It's almost as though I saw a panic in that side that I don't think I've ever seen in a United team.
No, it was brutal. It was brutal.
Panic.
Yeah.
The Van Gaal days were blighted.
And lethargy.
Yeah, big time. Big time. I don't know if I can even say that the Van Gaal United side, as dour as they were, I think that was the only reason people didn't like them, because they were dour. They were still getting results.
They did have occasional lapses in defence where you just thought, "What
not
are
4-0
you doing?" No, not 4-0s. I mean,
so what do you make of Mourinho's reaction afterwards to Antonio Conte? I mean, we've got some people claiming they know what was said, or I don't know if it's lip readers or whatever, but there's quite a few of them saying that he was essentially saying to Conte that, at 1-0, yeah, sure, rev the crowd up. Yeah. 0-0 even, rev the crowd up. A couple of good shots, whatever, but
at 4-0.
At 4-0, you're just embarrassing us. That's not respectful.
This coming from Mourinho, though?
That's what I found rich. I think if that came from a nice guy like Koeman or something.
Yeah.
And no, I'm sorry, by the way, I don't mean that as Mourinho's not a nice guy. I actually think he's when you see him in interviews, seems like a top guy.
Yeah, he seems like a good bloke, yeah.
But his football persona is not nice.
This is a guy, by the way, that at Old Trafford, when he was playing at Porto, when they got that late goal, ran screaming down the touchline and slid across on his knees like he was the second coming of Jesus. Yeah. This is not the guy that can come out and say, "You've disrespected us in this moment because you thrashed us 4-0."
Show some class, so to speak. Okay, so here it is. The quote is, "Don't do that at 4-0. 1-0, okay, but 4-0 is humiliation." That's what he said.
Well, I mean, the only thing I agree with him is it was already humiliating enough without having to go. But I mean, it's the heat of the moment. I get it. You're going to be excited.
But you got spanked, my friend. You got spanked.
We got spanked. And you know what? And that Matic, Kante central midfield now looks the business. It does. That is
the best
now a title-winning midfield. Yeah, they might not do it this season, but that's the beginnings. That's the green shoots of a title-winning midfield.
The commentator said it. He said this Chelsea side actually, ironically, really looks the feel of them a lot like that title-winning side for Jose Mourinho 2 seasons ago.
Yeah. It does.
And they do.
Yeah, they do.
That feeling is there.
And I don't think they will win it this year, but they have enough green shoots now. And this is one of the big problems now for Mourinho at United. There's 6 clubs ahead of him in that top 7. And we were talking off air about that top 7 now looks like it's going to be the breakaway top 7. That's those 7 teams are going to finish somewhere in the top 7.
They're
It just
separated.
depends on where they're going to finish. Can United finish above City? No. Can they finish above Arsenal? Probably not. Can they finish above Tottenham? Maybe. Can they finish above Liverpool on this form? No. Can they finish above Chelsea? Probably not.
Oof.
All of a sudden, we're in 6th. This is a club that if they don't get Champions League, Adidas slashes their budget by half. No more glamour signings, no more big names coming in.
They'll still make glamour signings because I think at least one more season they'll roll the dice and the Glazers
They're gonna have
will
to.
bankroll it if they have to. They're listed on the stock exchange. Technically speaking, they could go to the market and raise capital.
That's true.
If they really needed to. So they've got options to have a stab at it, and their marketing potential is undeniable.
Is ridiculous, yeah.
So, I mean, one of the most followed clubs in the world.
Yeah.
And I mean globally. I mean not just an English
Absolutely.
comparison. I
Yeah.
mean whatever club. So no, I don't think that'd be the end of it. I think that they would still throw the money out there. It's just they would struggle to find players. There'd still be players who'd look at them and say, well, they're United, they'll be back. But if they're not careful, they might start finding the same issues that Liverpool started to have when we stopped getting into the Champions League.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then all of a sudden you're shopping for potential or shopping for slightly...
And that's not a Mourinho game.
No, that is, he wants class and he buys established elite level players. That's always been his game.
He hasn't bought an up-and-comer since he was at Porto.
No, exactly.
It's just not his game.
No, it's just not how he operates. He's never going to be that manager.
And he even buys, when he does buy an up-and-comer like De Bruyne, if he doesn't show him world class in 2 matches,
he's out.
You got Andre Schürrle, Lukaku, and I mean these guys have all gone on to have pretty. I mean, look at De Bruyne and Lukaku.
Oh, please!
They would do anything to have him.
Say
back.
no more. Yeah, are you kidding me?
Can you imagine Lukaku at United? I mean, it's suddenly a different side. So the thing that's the biggest concern that United fans should have is that I don't know where he goes if they don't. If what happens if they don't make Champions League?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
surely he'll
big
go
trouble
because he's not the right manager to take him forward.
That's a big call.
But he wouldn't be. He wouldn't be the right manager at that point.
Well, you get the feeling that it would be make or break with Mourinho. That if he didn't make it, he'd just have that mental explosion and take everything down with him.
I feel like he'd want to leave.
Yeah, he might. I mean, he may. Yeah.
Forget whether or not everyone else wants to boot him.
Yeah.
I think that he would be teetering.
I still remember, and I still...
Is he done, though? What's happened here? Because
I don't think he's done.
This is now 2 seasons of abject... I mean, what would you call it? It's... I'm not going to say cluelessness, because that's really unduly harsh. But, I mean, these are abject performances from club sides that have teams to do far better than what they're producing.
Yeah, he's not done by any stretch of the imagination. He's still clearly a very good manager. But unlike every other of the new managers in the league, he's finding it hardest to find his feet at United. Now, I don't know whether that's a structural problem within the club, whether or not he clearly doesn't feel like he's got the players there. You can see what he's trying to do with Pogba, trying to add physicality in Fellaini. He's trying to play the way that he used to play in 2004-05, and it's not quite working for him. So he keeps trying to find these new angles and new ways to use United's players at his disposal, and he hasn't quite got there yet. I'm not saying he won't.
He's showing a little bit too much Tinker Tailor, Tinker Soldier, whatever they call it.
Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Yeah, there's a little bit too much of that at the moment, and that's not Mourinho's game. That's a Benitez game. That's there's other managers that
Claudio
do that.
Ranieri's game.
Claudio Ranieri,
the classic Tinker Man.
I feel as though he absolutely hasn't settled on a best side.
No.
And I think that he hasn't got a side. Okay, so historically, from what I remember of his Chelsea teams, his really good ones, he wouldn't just pick a side and adapt a formation that would be 100% perfect for every team that he played.
Yeah.
Because that's impossible. Because that's when you have to tinker.
Yeah.
Because you have to keep changing it. He would find a team that he felt was around 85% adapted to the sides he's going to play that season.
Yeah.
But he made sure that those players were so good that they accounted for that 15% differential.
That's right, yeah.
Whereas now, I don't think he feels he's got that, and he's tinkering, and it's really not working, and the players are confused. They look confused. Apart from Herrera, who's been using the same spot with the same role over and over.
Herrera is now the first name on the team sheet.
Yeah, and he's coming through for them. Whereas everyone else, I don't think they've got the same... I mean, he could ruin players like Rashford if he does what he just did to him in that game. That was not the position for him to be playing.
No, sadly not.
If you're worried, if he was so genuinely worried about the threat that was posed, down those wings, well, change your formation. Do
Yeah.
something different. Don't ruin a player.
But again, if you go back to the podcast, the preview podcast that we did last week, remember I was saying the best thing to do would stick 3 forwards up front and put pressure on their back 3.
For sure.
Run at them that way. Don't worry about what they're going to do with their wing backs.
That was his plan.
Kind of, but it just...
It went out the window.
way too quickly.
I'm going to say something a little controversial.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to take this game. I'm going to file it in the meh cabinet.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ignore it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens.
Because I actually don't think I learned a damn thing.
No, I know.
I feel like a lot of sides against a Chelsea side that now looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And looked after that spanking victory against Leicester, they did look like they were rediscovering form. And yes, one game isn't enough, but they were looking pretty good.
Yeah.
I would say that any team going down in the first 29.7 seconds
Yeah.
with a rampant side
Yeah.
against you,
It's an anomaly.
it's going to be something that is very hard to come back from. I would dare suggest that if Liverpool did the same thing to United, we wouldn't have seen that same match that we saw.
No. Probably
So,
not.
This is what happens with the league this year. So I'm going to say that you've not seen the last of United. This is not... What you saw was not United. They're going to get a bit of a spray, I think.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be back.
Yeah, I think this is the beginning of Mourinho's siege mentality.
Yeah, I think
This has got to be the start
But
of it.
Chelsea look good.
They do. They look really good. Anyway, we should move on to another game because we have spent literally 20 minutes on that
I know, but that was a big... It
was a big game
huge
with
match.
a big result. Yeah.
Huge match.
Yeah. All right. Now, do we want to move on to Bournemouth versus Tottenham?
Well,
quickly?
I do because, I mean, we were talking about known bastards and I never would have expected Musa Sissoko to kind of be in that list. But, I mean, that elbow on Arta was just so clearly an elbow.
That was right from the Fellaini school of bastardry.
Yeah, straight. I mean, Fellaini's all elbows and he clearly borrowed one from
80%
Fellaini.
elbows.
80% elbows. I
Yeah,
think that was the number I used.
50% chest and 5% hairdo, I think is about, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite possible.
Yeah.
So, that's a match changer right there. And
Yeah.
when you consider that Bournemouth held them to 0-0, I mean, neither of us picked this. We both picked 2 goals at least for Tottenham.
Yeah.
And you were expecting Bournemouth to get one. But that was a very cagey performance by Bournemouth.
They were
good
excellent.
to see their defence coming back. But
They
home.
They outpressed Tottenham,
Yeah.
which very much so impressed me. I mean, that was actually the kind of game when Tottenham needed Harry Kane to give them something a little bit different. You know,
they did. And they were looking a little bit toothless.
They were a little bit.
Dele Alli just didn't have it.
Just didn't, for whatever reason, it didn't click. I thought Dembele actually had a really good game, to be honest.
Yeah.
I thought he was excellent. He kept driving them, but...
He's probably the best player, I'd say.
Oh, yeah, he was, in my opinion.
But Bournemouth...
It didn't help, by the way, that their backline was so unsettled that Dia had to come in and didn't help them, but they still should have had enough in that tank. Bournemouth, though, credit to them. Eddie Howe's doing an amazing job with that team.
This is at home, though.
It is, and it's going to be a lot different.
I want to see them start doing this, away from home. At Dean Court, we know they've got it.
Yeah,
they've got good mentality, and they're a top half side.
Absolutely,
with this kind of form.
Yeah, I think they should finish 12th, somewhere in that kind of range.
You said 12th for WBA. You've said 12th for Bournemouth.
It's my favourite spot.
Yeah, well, you know what? They can't all be 12th.
That's true.
So,
13th.
Wow, you went down one.
Yeah, I went down one.
I would have said 11th.
Really? You would have got up one?
I would have given up one, yeah.
Yeah, 13.
So anyway, I just think that was a bad result for Tottenham. Great result for Bournemouth. And Tottenham should be really disappointed in that because now it's become so tight at the top. They missed their chance.
And it was a really interesting round because pretty much every team at the top of the table missed their chance. I mean, have a look at the next game that we should have a look at, which is Arsenal versus Middlesbrough. We both tipped good wins, big wins for Arsenal.
Yep. We did.
That was classic.
Proving again how little we know about the game.
But that was
Maybe
classic
cricket.
Arsenal.
Welcome to the cricket, the Stumps Up podcast.
Excellent work. Excellent work. That wasn't that classic Arsenal for you though.
Yeah, classic Arsenal.
It was as Arsenal as I've ever seen Arsenal be Arsenal-y in their Arsenal-ness.
Can I just say, they were building to this. I know that sounds weird because they've been on...
Well, after the Burnley result.
Six wins in a row, whatever it was.
The arsiest result in the history of arsiness.
But that's 2 in a row.
Yeah.
The Swansea match was very arsey as well.
Yeah, it was a bit.
So they've actually been quite fortunate for their last 2 victories. And even the game where Koscielny got that ridiculous overhead as well. I mean, even that game they asked through as well. I mean, so they've had quite a few victories where they've kind of just squeaked through.
But I will say this, last season, I guarantee you they would have lost that game.
And Arsene said the same thing.
And Middlesbrough had all that play. They should have won that game. Negredo should have. Oh, yeah, he looked excellent. Do you know that
How fast is he? He's a roadrunner.
Here's an amazing little stat for you, though. How
How
many passes do you think that he completed in that game? Just take a wild stab.
18. 18?
4
Oh, really? Completed passes.
completed passes. Now, he was very dangerous, but he clearly doesn't have enough end product yet, which is not to diminish him.
Passing wasn't what made him dangerous in
No,
this
God,
match.
no. He's a brilliant
Of
dribbler.
the four completed passes, one of them was that really good cross off the left wing.
Yeah, exactly.
One of them was a cross off the right wing.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I
the
don't know
boy
what
can
other two
clearly
were.
play.
And he's got pace.
Yeah.
He's searing pace. I mean, he gave the head start that the Arsenal defenders had pretty much every time, and he was beating them to the ball.
Yeah.
Was insane. I don't know. One to watch.
Yeah, definitely one to watch.
One to watch.
I thought
He won't
Negredo
stay
actually
there.
had it. No, you wouldn't think so.
No, Negredo frustrated me. I know he had a good game, and I agree with you, he had a good game, but he frustrated me. He
Yeah.
could have easily put one of those away.
Oh, he should have put one of those, I think, 3 very good chances away.
Yeah.
But you know what though? Improvement from Middlesbrough. Credit to
Improvement?
them. They played pretty damn well.
We'll
I
talk
thought they
about it
had
in the
better
preview
of it.
podcast, but I think they're on it finally.
They found the formula.
Yeah, that was a good formula against Arsenal. There was a good 1 point for Middlesbrough. And look, technically a good 1 point for Arsenal. No one can complain when you're still right up there.
Totally. No, and let's go
And
to
a game
the
you could have lost.
And let's go to the other kind of upset of the round: Man City versus Southampton. Another draw that we clearly didn't predict.
Pretty happy with it though, because again, I've got some Southampton players in my fantasy team, so I'm going all right.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
actually
doing
going
okay.
Nathan Redmond did well for me this week, so
He
I
was
was happy
excellent.
with that. Yeah.
Isn't he just blossoming? He will be an England international by the end of the year.
For sure. He's got pace. He needs to be more consistent with his end product.
He's only 21. I think he'll get
For
there.
sure. Absolutely.
I mean, and remember as well, he started off his career as a winger. You know, as an absolute winger, and now
you can see it.
Yeah, and all of a sudden he's been asked to play up front. He's still doing really well. He's going
sure.
to be inconsistent. He's going to have those games.
But what does this say about Man City to you? I mean, how do you take this result? Because they huffed and they puffed, and their plan A just didn't bear any fruit, and
Well,
they have no plan B. They have no plan B.
Yeah, I thought actually for the first time in a long time, I thought Aguero was kind of a bit rubbish.
I was going to say awful, but I don't want to say it because I still love him.
Yeah, he's just a bit rubbish in that game.
But yeah, he looked rusty, even though
did.
that's the wrong word because he
I know.
can't be rusty. He's
No.
playing games.
And he's already scored about 10 goals this season. How can he be rusty? It's just,
So-
it was a weird one.
I'm going to say something a little strange. He doesn't play well with Iheanacho.
No,
And
they can't play as a duo.
I felt like he was getting... Sterling got in his way a few times. You're on a couple of the same channels. And I felt as though when things are going wrong, they've got players, so many game breakers, that they're all trying to do something and they can get in each other's way. So I think that there's a lesson in this, because the other match that City looked tenuous, which was last week, the same thing happened. If you can keep them out for long enough,
they might falter.
They do falter. But they do. It's now become clearly a thing. I mean, against Everton, they demonstrated how much, if you frustrate them, if you just... Doesn't matter if they attack you relentlessly for 70 minutes.
Yeah.
If you've kept them out, there's a good chance
They
they're
can
going to start
break.
falling over each other because everyone is going to try break the game.
Yeah.
It's very easy to play as a team at the very start because you're ready, you're following the philosophy and whatever else, but they are still individuals, and there's a lot of individuals in that side.
And there's still a crappy keeper.
So that result
For all of his
not as
past
shocking.
completion statistics.
Yeah, don't care about it.
No,
really
neither do
don't
I.
care.
I know that, that's
If I
Guardiola's
stood here
way.
with you a metre apart and we just kept passing the ball for 20 minutes,
We'd actually do okay.
we'd have 40 completed passes each.
True that.
And then we pass it out once. And
Yeah.
okay, so now we've got, 80%, 88%, completion, but they score.
Yeah.
Well, that's what matters.
Yeah, that's the only pass that actually mattered.
Yeah, so-
Also, Stones kind of sold him up the river there.
So glad. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm getting some sick enjoyment out of seeing that. Like, what is it about Stones that's getting me happy when he fails? Is it the fee? Is it that I just didn't think that he could possibly be worth 47?
You know what part of it is? Part of it's the English press is so obsessed with him being the new greatest defender who ever lived.
Terry?
No, more like the new Moore. Like the new Bobby Moore. I've heard that be referenced.
God,
relax. And it, blows my mind. This is
That's
a young
annoying.
guy. He's, and sometimes his turn in defense is excellent. His pick of a pass is exceptional.
Yeah, it is.
But he's got way too many blunders in his game. Way too many.
And that was completely his fault.
Yeah.
As much as, Bravo's not great, I don't know what he's meant to do with that back pass.
No, that's...
What was he meant to do?
Yeah.
But good finish from Redmond. Still a bit to do. He had
Oh,
to
he
get
did.
to it, move to his right,
Yep.
finish that off
Make
with
sure
a
that he-
tightish angle.
Yeah, make sure
Well
that he
done,
got away
Redmond.
from the keeper and then...
And I'm
boosh.
annoyed because Austin had a chance to really win that game. That
Yeah.
one that he put straight at Bravo. Oh, come on.
I know.
That should have been in, and that should have been a goal. And I got to say, I think that would have won them the game.
Yeah, that probably would have.
But Iheanacho. goal machine.
Yeah.
What is that, like 6 in 5?
Something like that. You want to hear a ridiculous stat about him?
No.
Okay, fair enough. We'll move on to the
Actually, I do.
podcast.
Tell me.
You do? Of his 17 shots on target in the Premier League, 11 of them have gone in.
Oh, that's got to be the best in the league.
That is ludicrous.
Is anyone better than that?
Nah. Please.
Yeah,
if you've got a 40% completion
That's
rate,
nuts.
that's
That's nuts.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
His has got to be 65%.
Yeah, okay.
That's
Because
ridiculous.
he's quick and he gets into positions every
Yeah.
time. Really good at
He has
positioning.
he's got a great poacher's mind, but he's not just a poacher. He's a really good footballer.
Good strength for a young kid. And
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I like him. So I think, look, Man City are in it's not a rut. But
No.
this just proved they're human. And that gave me a little bit of hope that I still think they're going to win the league.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to happen every week. Not everyone's going to be able to put in that.
Yeah, to hold them
Southampton's
out.
a good side.
They are a very good team.
They're a very good, and they're going to do this to a few
Foul,
teams.
by the way, also impressed the hell out of me.
He did.
He was excellent.
I totally agree with you. Ward Prowse, when he came on.
Please.
He's tricky. He's dangerous. I like that Southampton side.
Yeah.
Again, of course, they sell their good players, but no, it doesn't matter. We've got more.
Yeah. Their academy is redonkulous.
It doesn't matter. We've got more players.
Yeah,
That's all right.
it's-
We'll sell them eventually and make another fortune.
And we'll lose our great manager, and then we'll just bring someone else in, and somehow the wheels just keep spinning.
The commentator said something to that effect, and it made me laugh so, because it was actually, he said it perfectly. He said, we talk about how Southampton has become the biggest feeder club, for the Premier League.
Yeah.
Well, now they've even done the manager, so that's everything.
Yeah, they are. They're feeding great managers out to great clubs.
Now they just got to feed some coaching staff. That's pretty much that's it. What's left?
No, well,
Send some seats
Director
from
of
St.
football?
Mary's?
Yeah.
Like what? What else have they got left? What have they got left?
Send the seaside temperatures. It'll be fine.
I don't know. So anyway, we can move on, but I was really happy with the game, even though we tipped it wrong. I was quite happy to see that because that did help my side. Liverpool, which is not a bad one to jump onto.
Okay, let's jump onto that. We actually tipped this one right.
We did. Not a lot to read into it. I just think that 2-1 didn't really explain the dominance of the game. However, it did exactly explain who West Brom are.
Oh, yeah.
A resolute side who are very resilient.
Who are going to finish 12th.
And who are probably going to finish 12th. If you say that enough, you think it'll just come true?
Yeah.
Is that what this is
Yeah,
about?
that's what I'm hoping. Yeah. The podcast gods will just grant me a wish.
There are podcast gods?
Yeah, there's podcast gods, dude.
Liverpool win the league.
No. Why did I say that?
And Pulis came out after the match and said that Liverpool have so far been their toughest opponent.
Yeah, the best team that he's played. And I'd agree. I mean, watching them play,
It's pretty nuts.
they are an amazing... their vertical movement is insane.
And
There's
how good has
nothing
their
like
defense looked now in the last 2
with
weeks?
Matic, it's becoming
Everyone's saying
pretty good.
Matip, if he was English, should probably be worth 50 mil.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was a free transfer. He
was
like, what is that?
Oh, man, I've got another... I won't do it, and I won't waste your time, but there's a comparison with the Liverpool players you could have had for the same price as Pogba. And it's not just like 8 of them.
Yeah, it's like, oh.
Mane, Milner.
Well, of course, United
Matip.
tried to sign Mane. So,
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But he likes Liverpool because he's got a brain.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think more he liked a challenge, I think is how he once said it himself.
Yeah, challenge of winning the title, not coming 6th.
Oh.
But that Albion game was
Factually accurate right now.
I think what that factually accurate, exactly. So I do feel that Liverpool, all they did was reinforce the fact that they are Champions League contenders this year.
Yeah.
They are definitely top 4 contenders.
And
winning
probably
games
the
like
best
that.
attacking team in the league, with the possible exception of City when they're on song.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, I want to hit on one that you got right and I got wrong, but I kind of was wanting to side with you on it. Was the Hull Stoke match?
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think 2-0 was probably the right result, and where their new form is taking them against a Hull side that's clearly falling apart. I felt that if there was going to be a match that Hull could have held on for a draw, it might have been this one, but. The fact that it hasn't actually, the only reason I wanted to bring this game up at all is I think if you want to know how bad they are at the moment, it's not even the 6-1 against Bournemouth, who are a pretty good attacking unit now.
At home,
It's not the 5-1 against Liverpool. Those aren't the matches.
These are the matches.
This is the match. At home, at the K-Com, they couldn't do it.
And you know what's bad, by the way, when I look at that whole team and I think, you're worse than Sunderland.
Yes.
That is a terrible, terrible thing to say. That is a screaming non-endorsement of any team.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for Mike Phelan. I mean, he's actually copping a lot of crap in the press. Like,
not
why hasn't
his
he
fault.
turned it around? He's got 15 players. What's he supposed to... He can't even rotate. You know, like he can't even choose someone for a different position.
Think of it this way: he can rotate them, but like tires, he can put the back to the front and the front to the back,
and he's already done it.
That's all he can do.
He's already done that.
There's no
nothing
tread.
else he can do.
There's no tread.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They're done. You need new ones.
Having said that, I will say this about Stoke: Shaqiri had an amazing game.
Yeah, honestly,
he is one of those players though, where 1 in every 5 games, you look at him and you go,
Oh, yeah. That's right. You were that good.
Yeah, like, why aren't you playing for Barcelona? And then 4 out of 5 games you go, I know why you're not playing for Barcelona. I get it now.
But that Stoke side, this feels more like who Stoke are.
This is who Stoke are, yeah.
I don't think that you're going to see them at the very bottom of the league, come the end of the season.
Yeah, they'll be about 12th. Sorry, that was a joke, just for your benefit.
What do you actually think they're going to be? Come on.
I honestly think they'll...
like 16th
No, yeah,
or
I think they'll finish about 15th.
Yeah, but that's okay.
That's fine, yeah. I mean, it's not great for Hughes, who's
not.
finished, I think, 10th and 10th or something like that.
But where they were compared to where they will finish, there's a lot better. They were stone cold last.
I know. But you've got to be worried if you're Mark Hughes that great team that he's slowly trying to build
is going to be taken away from you.
Arnautovic is... Please, he's going to get poached.
How can he stay there even this long?
Well, Everton were the only kind of club that went in
Surprising.
for him. Yeah.
There's so many teams he would... I looked through this league and there's so many teams that could do with an Arnautovic.
Yeah,
so many of them.
Probably about 15 teams in the league. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly. There's very few of them who would just say no. I mean, apart from the obvious ones where, Chelsea has a squad of 486,123.
Yeah.
Which they loan out.
Yeah, and 400,000 of those are on loan.
They could make a Premier League side just out of their loanees.
Yeah. They'd still finish
and
about
not just
15th.
And I don't just mean in numbers either. I mean literally
they would
left
actually,
back, right back, centre back,
yeah, and they'd
everything.
still not get relegated. It's a pretty good team.
Correct. So, Arnautovic... I don't know what's going to happen to that Stoke side, but good victory for them.
No, very good victory. Let's move on to one of the other ones that we both got wrong, Burnley versus Everton. Because we both tipped an Everton win.
And I still don't know how that didn't happen.
I don't know how they lost that game.
I don't know either.
It was...
Your guess is as good as mine.
Well, I'm guessing...
Actually, no, your guess is not as good as mine. My guess
what's
is
your
better.
guess? Yeah, what is your guess?
Oh, just whatever my guess is, it's better. I could say because a kangaroo got... ran over by a truck on the Sturt highway.
That's your guess?
And that's the reason. And it would still be better than whatever you come up with.
Okay, fair enough. I was just going to go with some defending inconsistencies. But yeah, no, you're right. I agree. Your kangaroo idea is actually much better. I'm going to go with that, I think that's the one. Vokes actually, I thought, had a decent enough game. They're very resilient at home, aren't they?
Yeah,
Burnley.
at Turf
they
Moor.
Look good, yeah.
At Turf Moor, they look a different side.
They do. And that's where, obviously, they've got to pick up all their points.
But they've got a bit of the Bournemouths about them in that regard, It's when they move away from
in
there.
An incredibly different style, but
extremely different. Yeah. I do mean just they've got some hometown. But regardless of the Turf Moor factor, I would have bet my left nut that Everton would have won that game. Because
I am glad you didn't make that bet, sir.
So am I. I'd be talking maybe a little differently. It's... Everton, after the game I saw against City, you would have just assumed...
Nailed on.
You just would have assumed.
That's the great thing about the league this year.
Yeah, it is.
And I mean...
not great if you're Everton, because that would have hurt.
No, that would have hurt.
Hey, by the way, Everton...
Not 4-0
Brothers in arms. Brothers in arms. Yeah. We've both lost now to Burnley.
There you go. Look at you.
So Burnley likes Merseyside teams. At Turf Moor.
At Turf Moor. But only at Turf Moor, I'm going to think.
Well, watch out United, because you're kind of in that sort of area.
Yeah, we're in that. We're up there.
Yeah, so maybe it's that whole northwest area.
Oh. I still remember Burnley actually beat us at Turf Moor, this is years ago, with a Robbie Blake goal. Oh, wow. Do you remember that? It was the second game of the season. It was their first home game and they beat us. And I just went, this season's going to be a long one.
They had Danny Ings back then, which made them look a lot more potent.
No, this was even before then. I think this was 9-10 or something like that. It was a long time back. Shit. Yeah, it was a long time ago. But they are very good at home.
I didn't expect it. I got nothing to say to you. I don't actually know how Everton lost that match.
No, to be honest, neither do I. So let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, rather than dwell on how little we know, I think Leicester Crystal Palace, because I got that one right.
You did get that one right.
You got that one wrong.
I did get that one wrong. I went with a draw.
Yes.
In the hope that Palace would pull through for me, but they did not.
But you have an interesting stat about Palace, don't you? And maybe this is indicative. Look, we're going to find out in the next week, but we won't dwell on that just yet. But this was a genuine, a top half side. And
they should
be
on
the
paper.
Defending champions. Let's put it into that context.
Yeah, absolutely. Leicester are the defending champions, and they looked very good. They dropped James Vardy, and they looked a lot better for it, I've got to say.
They really
That's
did.
got to scare you if you're Vardy.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause-
Well, I could say the opposite though. They could drop Slimani and start with Vardy.
Yeah, possibly. But Slimani looked good.
He looked very good.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that if you're going to do it, just go back
Musa
to the other
looked
way.
good,
I think what made Vardy look so good was the fact that Kante was there and allowed his sort of movement.
Yeah.
If he's going to stick to this 4-4-2, which he clearly wants to, then Slimani works better.
Yeah. No,
And
I agree.
Musa looked really good.
Yeah, he looked great.
Full of running, full of energy. But having said that, I don't think Crystal Palace exploited the deficiencies down the
No,
middle. I think
they
I think
didn't.
Leicester is going to struggle against sides that have a more packed midfield.
Yeah, I mean, well, to be fair, Palace played right into their hands. They
They
play
did.
with wingers and
Played
crossing.
wing games, wing
Yeah,
crossing,
and
they got counter-attacked
Yeah.
and they got
that's
the
Leicester's
result
bread and
happened.
butter. Look at their centre. Look at their centre too. Morgan and Huth, two of the best headers in the game. If you're putting crosses in, I mean, Benteke still had a good chance there.
He did.
Really good chance.
But he did a Benteke.
Yeah, he did. He did a bit of a Benteke.
So what's his stat?
Here's my stat about Crystal Palace. If the season
He
ended,
did a whole 10 minutes of reading for this. He got a dictionary and everything. He
I
almost
was
didn't
like,
understand a word he read.
Result.
R?
What is R? So if the season ended right now, if this was the 38-game season, Palace would be bottom of the league, below Sunderland. In the last 30 games, Palace have only taken 24 points.
I can't believe it.
They have not beaten a team
I can't believe it.
above the top 15 in the Premier League since December 2015.
How?
That is a bad stat to have against you.
I mean, I get it. Some of the top clubs, fine. There are some good ones.
Oh, top six, I can
top
see.
15?
Top 15 clubs in the Premier League. I think off the top of my head, the only teams that they've beaten are Stoke twice, Sunderland, Middlesbrough, Norwich, and that might even be it.
Oh, goodness.
That's
So
only
basically
5
relegated
wins.
clubs and newly promoteds.
Yeah, and that's it.
Well,
I
that
mean,
is strange.
I unlike a lot of people
You've
out
got
there,
me
I've
scrambling
No,
here.
but I've got a lot of faith still in Pardew. I know that he's considered, like the sun is shining, everything's great manager, but in the dark days
Fair
he can
weather?
never. Yeah,
Fair
the fair
weather
weather manager. But in the dark days, he'll never be able to pull them out of the slump. There is some historical facts to that, but I think with this team, he finally has his team, and I think he can pull them out of this nosedive.
What I will say is, I don't think Leicester was the match. Mind you, there is next week they play Liverpool. So I don't know what I'm going to say about Crystal Palace. But what I am going to say is that a loss was not a good result for them, obviously.
No.
Because it's such a tight field now that losses are going to... You can fall behind from a loss.
Yeah.
5 places if you're not careful.
Totally.
So it's a tough one. And I think
is.
Leicester needed that win badly.
Yeah, they did. No, they really did. Having said that, I can still see Palace finishing 12th.
I just want to hurt you. You know what's finishing 12th? Your jokes.
Oh!
Bottom
Ooh.
half jokes.
Okay, at least I wasn't relegated with my jokes. Anyway, let's go to Swansea versus Watford. We both got this result right, albeit we picked scoring draws. This was a 0-0.
I picked a high scoring draw.
You
How did
went
I go
nuts.
from picking 4 goals
Yeah.
in a match to there being none? But there could have been goals in this
There
match.
could- yeah,
though.
there should
was a
have been goals, yeah.
litany of chances.
There should have been goals. I thought that Swansea actually shaded it. I thought that they
yeah,
should
for
have
sure.
come out of it.
For sure. If I had to pick a team that should have won the match, it's probably Swansea.
Lorente looked really good.
And I feel good. I mean, the man, that we finally got a look. This is their first real.
Yeah, under Bob Bradley.
Yeah, under Bradley, this is a game that I really thought we'd see a bit of what they're going to be about.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I can't be disappointed.
No.
It's unfortunate. They probably should have won the game, and it was tight, and they could have won it 0-0.
They could have, yeah.
Could have gone their way.
Yeah, it could have. But I think that's a positive first result. I mean, Watford are one of those teams that can damage you.
They beat United?
That they didn't damage them. Great. Point's a point. Well done for them. They're a team that's going to finish about 17th.
Oh wow!
See, I threw the zinger for you. Yeah, I mixed it up a bit.
Well done.
Just mixed it up. Anyway,
I think they might finish 12th. No, that's okay. I actually do not think that.
No, they're clearly not going to finish 12th.
They're
Anyway,
clearly
we should go to the last game of the round. I saved this one for last, very, very deliberately. West Ham versus Sunderland, 1-0 to West Ham at home. Sunderland.
The Black Cats. The Black Cats need to be put down.
It's getting like
That's
that,
a
isn't
sick
it?
cat.
There's already
That is a sick cat.
There's already calls in Sunderland to have Moyes sacked.
But is it
9
Moyes'
games.
fault?
No,
I
he
feel like this
inherited
I feel like this-
absolute jamboree of bad players.
And it almost doesn't matter who the manager is.
No. I mean,
I almost
he
want
does have
them
a lot
to
of
do it.
injuries.
I almost want them to do it. Sack him.
Yeah.
Bring someone else in and
just
watch the
them just
results
crash
not
and burn.
change.
Yeah, totally. He needs to completely redo that club from top to bottom. I mean, there's systemic problems in that club that we've been talking about on this podcast. But here's a great stat that I dug out for you for the Sunderland game here. Jack Rodwell has started 32 games for Sunderland.
Decent player, Jack.
Very
Rodwell.
good player. You know what? When he moved from City for, I think, 10
I thought
million.
he was great.
He was only young. He was, 24? Sure, his injury record, not amazing.
That's sketchy, but so was Sturridge, and he nearly powered Liverpool to a
Exactly.
title, so.
And, this was a guy on the edges of the England squad.
Yep,
Looked
100%.
like a good...
I'm with you. You're
looked
setting
like a
this
good
up,
player,
all right?
Yep.
I'm wondering where this is going.
32 games he started for Sunderland. 0 wins in 32 games.
That just seems impossible.
0.
Double check the stat.
Okay,
I
I
know
will.
you can't read, so...
0 in 32 games.
Yeah, look, I'm checking his math. I carry the white. Yep, same. Yeah, I'm getting the same thing. That is insanity. 32 games. Oh
That's
my
a season.
goodness.
That is a season. You're in the running right now.
I mean, I'd want to quit football.
Yeah, how depressing would that be?
How do you stay alive?
I don't know. I feel bad for him though, and I feel bad for
I'm
Sunderland.
not going to say. Okay, I'm not going to say he's a problem, but he's indicative of the slump that Sunderland
but
are in.
also he's indicative of this weird transfer policy that they have, where everyone goes, Jack Rodwell, yeah, goodbye, or a bit expensive, but hey, you know what? You needed that in your team. Crashes and burns. It'd be okay if that happened once.
Basically,
it
everyone
happens
apart
with
from
everyone.
apart from Defoe.
Apart from Defoe, everyone
He
is
scores
just
13 goals every season.
Always, every season.
Every
Just
season.
13 every time out. Every time out of the tracks.
Every time.
It is indicative of their transfer policy that they're just going to struggle with the squad they've got. There's a lot of decent players there, and none of them are performing to potential. I feel sorry for Moyes. He's got a lot of injuries to key players.
Defense needs strengthening.
Well, midfield needs strengthening. Attack needs strengthening. I mean, he needs to get the
I'm
best
telling
out of
you
Defoe,
right now,
and he can't.
I've said it once, I'll say it again. I still think the 3 players that we've highlighted, they should break the bank, do whatever they got to do, sell fans if they have to, whatever you got to do to make this work. I mean, fans would understand, right? They got to help their club.
Yeah, sure.
It's got to be. They've got to try and go for Sturridge, Sacco, and Delph.
That would be a nice 3. I think with those 3, you'd probably at least finish 17. Well, you'd like to think that they'd get out of relegation.
I would say that categorically they would get out of relegation.
Yeah.
Defoe and Sturridge is your strike force.
Yeah. Although 2 of those 3 players are intensely injury prone, which isn't going to help.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine. I also think yes and no. I mean, Sturridge might miss games. He might still miss games, but I don't think he's going to make them worse because of it.
No. Well,
When he plays, he'll win them the
to
game.
be fair, yeah, they can't get much worse.
No.
But anyway, we should wrap up that podcast there. I hope that you enjoyed this review podcast. I am Garfield. I was here with Simon Says. As always, if you'd like to give us any feedback, you can always find us on Facebook. Just type in Studs Up, or you can go to our website, studsup-football.com. Now, our next podcast that's going up probably tomorrow will be a